"We are grateful to Javier for his dedication and contributions to the Los Angeles Galaxy," Athletic Director Greg Van Ness said in a statement. Star striker Chicharito ended his career with the Los Angeles Galaxy after a failed season with the club. The player ended his 4-year tenure with the Galaxy, leaving his club without an Audi MLS Cup playoff game this year, as well as 8-time Ballon d'Or winner Lionel Messi, Christian Benteke, Insigne, Bernandeschi, Shaqiri. These star players were heavily relied upon by their clubs, but they failed to help their teams this season, thus missing the Audi MLS Cup playoffs. Which of these stars could be leaving MLS as soon as this winter? Let's discuss. Me, Andrey Palytch. Let's go! Star midfielder Victor Wanyama of Montreal. A Canadian team that has slumped at the end of the season has beaten an opponent just once in their last 9 league games. The leader on the field was supposed to be Kenyan midfielder and ex-Tottenham of London Victor Wanyama, but the coach of the team did everything to make Victor was on the field as little as possible. The 32-year-old player at the end of the season was 6th in terms of time played on the field, 13th place according to Who Scored assessment in his team. Not a single productive action on the field, just a terrible season for the highest paid player on the team. Montreal Impact president and CEO Gabriel Gervais expressed his displeasure with how the club finished the season, which resulted in the team failing to win a trophy and failing to qualify for the MLS playoffs. Hernan Lozada's side crashed out of the League Cup and also lost the Canadian Championship final. All hopes of winning a trophy crumbled when Montreal missed the playoffs, finishing 10th in the Eastern Conference. The bet as the season progressed was made on young and promising players. Gabriel Gervais confirmed this. The president's attitude increases the pressure on the team's head coach. Hernan Lozada is on terrible terms with Wanyama, who demanded answers from him because of his limited playing time in the final weeks of the season. "I was disappointed. As a player, wanting to play more. I really didn't understand why I wasn't on the pitch," said Wanyama, who has been on the pitch in one match since mid-July. The club president was delighted with the integration of youth into the team. He highlighted the development of Canadian trio Jonathan Sirois, Nathan Saliba, and Matthew Chouanier. It was Saliba who took Wanyama's place in Montreal's midfield. "The culture of having young local players on the field. I haven't seen that in a long time. It's a matter of great pride. It's embedded in our DNA," Gervais said. So Wanyama has been a victim of playing time. Let's hope the Kenyan gets lucky with a new head coach, assuming of course he is appointed. Talented midfielder Evander is from the Portland Timbers. "Obviously, it's been an incredibly disappointing season on a lot of levels," said team general manager Ned Grabova. "We could probably point to all the problems and challenges we faced as a team, but we have to recognize that we didn't get the job done. I think when you don't make the playoffs 2 years in a row, you have to make tough decisions. We're going to do that. We've already started to do that," he added. Of course, these words were directed more towards the coaching staff, as the team is quite balanced in terms of player selection. There are no obvious failures or superstar players on the pitch. The one to stand out this season is midfielder Evander. The highest paid player in the team is the first in his club in terms of goals scored this season. The midfielder has won Best Player of the Match 2 times in the season along with Santiago Moreno and Christian Paredes. Evander is best on the team according to a Who Scored 7/10 rating, third in goal assists, and best in shots per game. But that's not enough for the most expensive player in the team to make an impact. He couldn't get the Portland Timbers to the final stage. But I would like to note that with a new competent specialist, Evander will be able to reach a new level because he is only 25 years old. Finnish genius Teemu Pukki and Minnesota United. After joining MLS in 2017, the club had never changed head coaches. That all changed on October 6 when the club announced that they parted ways with head coach Adrian Heath. He had led the team for 6 consecutive years. While some were shocked by the news, it was a clear sign that Minnesota needed new decision makers in the areas of roster development and inter-team management. A different coach and vision for him could theoretically lead Minnesota out of the Western Conference. Whoever takes over the team has some solid players on the roster. Goalkeeper Dane St. Claire, midfielder Emmanuel Reynoso, winger Bongo Longwain, they are cornerstones. But striker Teemu Pukki, being a star player, just broke into this league. In 14 matches played, he managed to score 11 times, becoming the top scorer in his team. The striker is just in great shape. Now the most important thing for the player to maintain this attitude until the beginning of the next season. The Minnesota team needs to make the right decision in choosing the leadership for 2024. In the meantime, the team is moving past past the playoff games, New York City's Golden Youth, and the failing Thiago Martins. The club's playoff aspirations will increase significantly if a group of young strikers from the New York City-based team take a big step forward in 2024. Gabriel Pereira and Julian Fernandez joined this summer as progressive U22 players, showing spectacular play in matches this season. This year has not been a good year for young Tals Magno, who is worth over $10 million. If any of these players can really improve next year, or if one or two signings happen that change the team's play, then New York City should be a playoff-level team. But for now, the highest-paid player of the boys in blue is Thiago Martins, and this season the Brazilian has not shown 100%. The defender, who should show a high level of his game, has failed to impress the spectators and fans of the club, as well as teammates, becoming the 10th player in terms of tackles per game. In terms of successful interceptions, only 14, according to Who Scored 11. With this kind of defensive play from the leader of the defensive line, it is impossible to imagine winning the MLS Cup. Chicago and Xherdan Shaqiri. A disgusting season for the Swiss-born star. Xherdan failed to truly become a team leader this season. Mediocre stats for one of the highest-paid players in MLS. Only 5 goals scored in 22 league games and 4 assists in 56 minutes spent on the pitch. Just think about it. According to Who Scored, Shaqiri is ranked just 10th on his team. The title of Player of the Match Chicago players received 13 times, and not once this title was not awarded to Xherdan Shaqiri. The Swiss move was the most high-profile event for the Fire under owner Joe Mansueto. The reported transfer amount was $7.5 million, and that makes it even more frustrating to realize that the team is going to miss the playoffs for the 6th time and will not compete for the season's biggest trophy. Like if you think Xherdan Shaqiri will never win the MLS Cup with Chicago. D.C. United and Belgian striker Christian Benty. For the past decade and a half, D.C. United's development as a club has been largely driven by Wayne Rooney. But in the 2023 season, D.C. United added a big star forward from Belgium. All of this was supposed to bring stability, consistency, and focus, especially since Rooney seemed destined to dispose of star players like Benty perfectly. But something didn't work out. Partly it was because Taxi Fountas provoked his teammates with his behavior, up to the point of leaving the club, perhaps because it was not possible to find a good striker besides Christian Benty, perhaps because the players did not quite fit the style of play, perhaps because of the simple lack of fighting qualities. Even though the team scored almost twice as many points as they had the previous season, there was still a sense that they had not accomplished many of their goals for the season. And at the end of the year, Rooney and the club ended their partnership. But that didn't stop Christian Benty from showing himself to be a true professional this season. He played more minutes on the field than anyone else in the team, scored 14 goals, third in goal assists in the team, best in shots per game, and won one-on-one battles in the air, ahead of team defender Steven Birnbaum almost 2 times. It's sad to realize that such a great season for the Belgian is already over. Los Angeles Galaxy and Spanish midfielder Ricky Puig, Mexican superstar striker Chicharito, a player who was a real high-level player and showed it with his play for more than 1 year, has ended his stay with Los Angeles Galaxy, as well as another designated player of no lesser caliber, Douglas Costa. Now in the forefront from next season comes Ricky Puig, a young Spanish star who showed this season not a bad game. He spent the most minutes on the field in the team 25-26, became the top scorer of the team along with another midfielder Tyler Boyd, ranked 2nd in the club in goal assists after the superstar from Brazil Costa was awarded the best player of the match as many as 6 times. By and large, the LA team has always been an interesting team to watch in the playoffs, from David Beckham and Zlatan Ibrahimovic to the current Galaxy lineup of Maya Yoshida and Martin Cáceres, in addition to the aforementioned Colorado Rapids and Kevin Cabral. I look at value for money, Colorado president Podrick Smith said. I think if you look at which teams make the playoffs and which teams don't, every year you see just as many big spenders in the playoffs and just as many big spenders out of the playoffs. There are plenty of teams that spent a lot of money and didn't succeed. And I keep coming back to the critical things: efficiency in terms of spending and maximizing what you have. Those are critical things. All of those things come together in a consistent plan that everyone executes over a long period of time. That approach worked perfectly for Colorado in 2021 when the team led the Western Conference with a record 61 points. Since then, the team has lost key players. New signings haven't always been successful, and a last place finish in 2023 will soon be mathematically guaranteed. Looking Looking at the team by name, almost no one can be singled out personally except for Kevin Cabral, who joined the team in the summer and has scored only 2 goals in 14 matches. But it is important to note that the player was signed for the highest salary in the team at $1,800,000 per year. I don't think the team president was counting on such help from the Frenchman. That's why we legitimately blew past the playoff games. Before we get to the great Messi, subscribe to my Instagram. I share my thoughts and news from the world of MLS and the U.S. national team. The great Messi and company from Miami. The 2023 playoffs have certainly lost some brilliant play from the 8-time Golden Ball winner and his ex-Barcelona colleagues. Get that trio, Messi, Busquets, Alba, early in the season, and perhaps the Miami club would have taken the Supporters' Shield this season. Inter Miami had the greatest transfer window in MLS history this summer. How can they build on that success in 2024? You can be sure that Inter Miami will be linked to several high-profile free agents, and 1 or 2 of them could become a reality. For example, the possible transfer of Luis Suarez as early as this winter. Maybe the Barcelona trio will turn into a quartet, with Luis Suarez joining Lionel Messi, Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba in the Florida Sun. But the main job will likely be to make the most of the team's available pieces, both coming and going, something that Chief Athletic Director Chris Henderson has proven to be highly skilled at. Additionally, the transfer sanctions imposed on Heron for the 2020 season are now over, and head coach Tata Martino has a clearer idea of where he would like to strengthen the squad. Perhaps most importantly, Inter Miami have a built-in cheat code for picking players. Who doesn't want to play with Messi? This has already helped them get a trio of enterprising U22 players in Facundo Farias, Diego Gomez, and Tomas Aviles. Such acquisitions, whether from abroad or MLS, could be the basis for even more magic. And the biggest disappointment of the season, players who not only just blew past playoff games and will not be able to compete for the season's biggest trophy, but were the worst team at the end of the MLS regular season. Federico Bernandeschi and Lorenzo Insigne made their debut for the club on July 23, 2022, in a 4-0 win over then-expansion club Charlotte. The Italian-style rebuild, headlined by former Napoli and Juventus players, looked amazing. The vibe was on point. 14 months went by and things went from bad to worse. By all accounts, Bradley, Bernardeschi, and Insigne were at odds. The latter pair are among the top 5 highest-paid players in the league. They have performed well, with 23 goals and 14 assists in 70 games, but 2023 will end with a 3rd consecutive playoff miss. Head coach John Herdman left the Canadian men's national team to lead Toronto, and general manager Jason Hernandez seems intent on doing another roster rebuild over the winter. Meanwhile, it's unclear if Bernardeschi and Insigne, whom club president Bill Manning has previously called central figures, are part of that future. If they are expected to leave, their large salaries could limit the range of potential suitors. A return to Serie A, Saudi Arabian, or Qatari league. If they stay, Herdman faces the daunting task of making the most of the Italian stars to still make the playoffs. By the way, I have a video on my channel about the new playoff scheme. Go and watch it.